Okay. So I will share my screen and we shall begin. All right. Welcome to Dental Practice Success Series. My name's Alexi. Excuse the crackly voice. It has been a little bit cold lately. Today, we've got a presentation called Mastering Staff and Onboarding and New Client Marketing. So Julie Parker and myself will be coordinating this. So let me do a bit of an intro for you. My name is Alexi. I run a business called Practice Results, which is a sister company of Your Research Solutions, my main marketing agency. And I am based in Brisbane, although I do have offices all around Australia. Gold Coast and Melbourne to be precise, but we work with clients nationally and internationally. We do a lot of stuff with Google and most importantly, work with a lot of practices, helping them grow through digital marketing channels. My forte is that I actually like to educate customers through podcasts, which I run. I also am working on my second book right now. And I guess my biggest point of difference is that I don't do any contracts when it comes to digital marketing services. Now, Julie and myself have done a couple of these now. Julie's based in Melbourne. She's a former dentist herself. In fact, she was the first non-dentist practice owner in Australia in 2003. And I'm sure you'll hear more about Julie and what she does. She's got quite an interesting presentation coming up. She has had a practice for over 10 years, and she's been a consultant since 2014. She runs a couple of businesses. Dental Business Mastery is probably the one you're getting a lot of the updates from, and I'm sure she's got quite an interesting update to share with you as well. And she's also got Julie Parker Practice Success, from what I understand. Did I get that right, Julie?
Yep.
Excellent. All right. So today's agenda is pretty straightforward. We've got a presentation each. Julie will be talking about efficient onboarding and training techniques, while I will talk about smart client acquisition without wasted ad spend, because a lot of people want to know how to do things smart as opposed to expensive. And then in the end, we'll do a Q&A session. But if you guys have got any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to use chat or put up your hand. Or if it's something that's really burning, happy for you to yell out and ask the question. Anyway. So why this webinar? Look, I've come up with this Dental Practice Success Series last year because I saw the need to educate dental practice owners and dentists primarily on things like digital marketing, things like business coaching. Because a lot of the time, you guys walk out of universities or you get a job where you're expected to do X, but in reality, there's a lot of other things that you really don't have a lot of information about. So I thought aligning you with experts such as Julie would be the best opportunity to learn from the best. My perspective on marketing is everyone wants better customers. And a lot of the time, digital marketing campaigns that I come across are not really aimed at that. So there's always something to share there. And one of the things I always find that's a bit of a missing piece of the puzzle is the customer loyalty. Like you guys have got humongous databases of people who are your customers, but you're not really using that a lot of the time. So that's something to talk about as well. Creating team cultures or basically working within an environment that's more pleasant is something that really needs to be on the cards. And overall, improving sales processes is one of those key areas that is worth the attention. So let's hand over to Julie for efficient onboarding and training techniques. Julie, over to you.
Thank you so very much. I will share my screen now. There we go, and make it that a little bit bigger.
Yep.
And yes, and I see Kelly's joined us as well, so that's awesome. So I've known Kelly for such a long time. And there we go, full screen. So yes, Julie Parker Practice Success was my consulting company, and it's still alive and well. And that's what was developed after I owned a dental practice for 10 years. And Dental Business Mastery is my collaboration with Amina Basile, another dental practice management consultant. And we do 90% of our work together under Dental Business Mastery. And the announcement I've got at the end of my session is all around Dental Business Mastery as well. But welcome to this portion of the webinar. Alexi, thank you so much for again extending out an invitation to co-host one. It's always enjoyable to work with you. It's fantastic. Great numbers today for registrations today. We usually get about a third. We find about a third turning up live, and there is always benefit to turning up live because it can become more of an interactive session. So throughout my presentation, feel free to yell out, feel free to ask questions in the chat, whatever. It's all about making sure you get the information that you need. I will be moving through these slides rather swiftly. So if you need further clarification on anything, as I say, do reach out. So onboarding of new staff, Alexia, as you said, when you mentioned before about team culture, there is so much around the team culture aspect with onboarding new staff members, because when we're onboarding new staff members, we're assuming that we've picked, the cream of the applicants that applied for the position, and now they're coming in to work at our particular location. And we have to always remember during the recruitment process that gone are the days, back a generation or two ago, if you had a job, you were very lucky to have a job. And so you weren't very particular about more of the minor details around working at that particular place, such as team culture and, is the vision aligned with my values and all those sort of things. It is so important nowadays to understand truly the concept of, I think, was it Jim Rohn? No, it wasn't Jim Rohn. Somebody had that book that you got to get the right people on your bus in the right seats on the bus. But we've got to make sure that that bus is as good as it can be as well. And this is what I mean by it's a 50-50 deal. We have to first make sure that we do address whatever's going on in our practice that may not be helpful in our recruitment and keeping of great staff members once they're on board, and make those sort of adjustments. And so then we can really start to appeal to great applicants who want to join our team because of who we are and stay for a long term because of the kind of structures and systems and vibe culture that we have going on. So once we do get that great person on board or employed, I'm just going to move my little thing down here so it's not in my way. We need to actually effectively onboard them. And onboarding is the process of integrating a new employee into your practice, familiarizing them with all of your culture, your policies, your procedures, your systems, everything. It encompasses everything from that initial job offer to the end of that first year. And that's what we're going to be covering, that first year, just in half an hour. It's going to be very efficient, I have to say, where they have to really make sure that they know all, they have all the knowledge, skills, and support throughout. And it's been my experience when I've been employed at various places that once you're employed and in your role, any further support kind of falls away. And in order for you to get that support, you have to be raising your hand saying, I need a meeting, I need a communication, I need something here, or further training or something here to help me be more successful in my role. And what we want to do is provide a structure so it doesn't have to be employee driven, that we are providing that professional structure for our new employees, because it contributes to them in so many ways and to the practice in so many ways as well. And these are some of the benefits and therefore goals of the onboarding process. Number one, the new employee gains a deep understanding of the vision and the goals of the practice. Number two, the new employee settles easily into the process and happily into their routine and to the team. It minimizes anxiety. This is a big one that I'm going back too many. It minimizes anxiety. You think about, I always like to provide the framework of when a new employee comes into your organization, we have a lot of, surely they would know, and assumptions that they'd know how to fit in. However, if you put yourself into the headspace of a early teenager who's gone into foster care and you've just been placed in a new home, you've already been at 3 other homes in the past. How do you know how to behave in this new home? Every other home has been quite different in terms of, do we have to call if we're going to be home late? Is dinner served every single night at the same time? Do we eat in the dining room or do we sit and eat in front of the television? If I need to use a shower in the morning, do I just jump in, or do it, the parents of the house need to be able to get in there first to go off to work for the day? Can I swear in the house? Can I just go to the pantry and get a snack whenever I feel like it? Can I leave my shoes on the floor without upsetting anybody, or do I need to be really tidy? Every single home has a different series of rules. And so that foster care child would have a level of anxiety going into a new environment, just as a new employee coming into a dental practice, which again is different from every other dental practice. How can we reduce that anxiety down? And it's about very clearly defining this is the way we do things here. And so therefore it really does minimize their anxiety. Also swiftly creates a relationship of safety and trust. This is really what we want to have. When we have a new employee, they're going to be learning a bunch of new stuff at the very start and then hopefully continuing to learn thereafter. But in these initial stages, if they don't feel that sense of safety and trust in you, in your organization, in your team, then they're going to have a self-preservation defensiveness about themselves, which will inhibit their ability to learn really effectively in your organization. And so developing this safety and trust is key, one of the keys to making sure that this is going to be a successful employment opportunity for them and for you as a practice as well. So a lot of what we talk about is about really creating that safety and trust. It also provides clarity of responsibilities and expectations for both the new employee and the new employer. How often is it that, if you're a dental receptionist, you've been employed in one practice, two practices, three practices, your level of responsibilities, the tasks that you are expected to complete, vary slightly from one place to another. So it helps bring about that great clarity. Reduces errors and confusion, creates an environment that encourages the best performance. And this is about, creating the environment. What's one of the things we can do in order to assure that success is likely? A lot of what we're going to be talking about. Reduces stress. And this is not just for the employee, but reduces our stress as well. And, oh, the person's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, or now I'm going to have to bring them in for a meeting. So it helps to reduce all that stress. Avoids new employee overwhelm. All the things that all your team members currently do in your organization, they've been doing repetitively every day, every week, every month, every year often. And therefore, it's all part of their natural state at your practice. However, anybody new, everything is new. And everything is new. They're thinking carefully about every step. It becomes quite exhausting. Employee overwhelm can absolutely happen. We want to try to avoid that. It also develops a positive attitude. Everything is moving towards we've got agreed upon goals. We've got agreed upon set of responsibilities and expectations. Everything is working towards a positive attitude. Creates a happy working environment, high job satisfaction, saves time for the supervisor, and reduces staff turnover as well. So a bunch of beautiful goals with your onboarding process. Goals that you may not normally think about, but these goals are something that if you did think about it would change the way you onboarded new people for sure. So we're going to set this up in sections. The very first section is the pre-arrival. Before they, you've already hired them, but before they turn up to your workplace for the first day, what can we do in that pre-arrival time to really start to set the standard, set the tone, start creating that environment of safety for them and trust for them? There are 3 documents that I encourage you to provide to your new employee before they even start working. Number 1 is a fantastic welcome letter. I've got an example of a fantastic welcome letter, which I can email out to everybody afterwards. And number 2, a new employee handbook. And number 3, an employment agreement. Let's go through each one of these one at a time. The welcome letter. First impressions are crucial. So getting off on the right foot to welcome your new employee with optimism and confidence. It's a beautiful opportunity to do that. What we're also doing, because we want to be completely delightful in that welcome letter, set that tone, we also want to indicate to them that this is the standard of professionalism that you're entering into. And so even if subconsciously you have had a lower standard elsewhere, or that you thought you would be able to come in with a lower standard, we're saying right now, we're going to set the bar high. So come up to this, because they'll want to conform to the way you do things at your organization. So we've got this one beautiful early opportunity to really say, this is the way we do things here, and your welcome letter plays a role in that. We also want to convey that we're grateful for the chance to incorporate this new person's character, skills, benefits that they can bring to our organisation, and that we hope that they will also be thankful for the opportunity. So we're all coming in very optimistic, just like a brand new relationship. We're coming in just looking at each other's positives. We're overlooking the negatives, and we're just wanting to get the ball rolling in the best possible way. That welcome letter, it's a little bit blurry because it's an image here, but as I say, we can send out a follow-up email and have it added to that. But just to give you a sense of what this letter the feel an emotional response that you would have if you received this letter from an organization, from a dental practice that you had just been employed by. We use you, Kelly. Dear Kelly, I am delighted to welcome you to our team. We are thrilled that you have accepted our offer of employment and are excited about the skills and character you bring to the practice. As we agreed, your first day will be on this particular day. Please arrive at this particular time. Here's a brief outline of what to expect on your first day. Number one, will we ensure that payroll has all of your necessary information, such as banking details, tax file number declaration, and superannuation fund. We will review the employee handbook together to address any questions that you may have. You will be introduced to the team and given a tour of the workplace. We will familiarize and train you on the practice software that we have, for example, Dental Windows or Core. We will train you in your basic responsibilities. Your new employee handbook is included with this letter. It contains all the information you need to confidently start your employment with us. To support your transition, we have assigned Sally to work closely with you and provide on-the-job training. They are experienced in all aspects of the role you will be undertaking. Your direct supervisor will be Alexi. Please feel free to discuss any aspect of your integration into the practice with them or him. We have also scheduled a series of feedback meetings to check in on your progress, address any barriers to your success, and ensure that our mutual expectations are being met. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Here is my email and my mobile number. We look forward to working with you and are confident you'll be a valuable addition to our team. How different is that than the usual? How much more calm and in control do you think that new employee will feel coming in through your front door for the first time? There's so much great clarity there. And that emotional response that you feel when you have receiving this letter will help you understand providing that information to your new employee in this kind of format enormously helpful in building that early trust and safety, and allows them then to have that headspace to deliver their best performance. The new employee handbook. This information is, like I said, with the foster care child going into a new foster home, it's like the house rules. So that foster kid knows what to do in all situations. This is what we want to do for the new employee as well. And so the sort of things that are included in this are, this is the situation with entry keys, the alarm code, storage of your bag and personal items. You'll have a locker, a lockable locker of your own. This is what we do about uniform. You wash it, we don't, we buy it for you, all the things. This is the lunch routine, holidays and process of requesting leave. These are all questions that this person will end up having. And if they've got answers up front, they'll feel much more calm and in control. Sick days and the process of notifying the rest of the team when you're ill, process of who to contact should you ever be running late, personal calls and mobile phone policy, process for registering concerns and complaints. It's also a good idea to attach within that some very important policies, such as you may have a behaviour policy. This is how we behave with one another as a team. This is our team culture, it could be called instead. This is our appearance policy. That's where you say you must turn up with a clean, pressed uniform, the appropriate shoes. This is the appropriate pants. This is the appropriate hairstyle. This is what to do if you've got tattoos and piercings and those big hoopy things in the earlobes. This is where we get to say this is exactly what the standard is here. Customer service policy as well, privacy policy. Include their job description, so their list of responsibilities, and loose sheet for the new employee to complete and hand into payroll. So this is where, prior to turning up on the day one, they can have time to enter in all of their banking details, superannuation account, etc. And from your bookkeeper, your payroll clerk, they will be able to provide you a sheet that with all the information they need in order to get all that happening. So then day one, they're turning up with an expectation of performance, with an awareness of what's going to be happening, and with all the information needed to be able to get that employment kicked off in the right way from day one. The third thing that really doesn't happen often enough, I feel, they must, prior to starting, they must get their employment agreement or their employment contract. Give them a chance to carefully read through that document, share it with others if they need additional advice or additional eyes on that. On that. Make sure that if there's anything outside the norm within that contract, that you highlight it and say, this is a little different. Make sure you read this bit carefully. It's such a trust breaker if you try to hide things in that contract and then the employee starts working. And one of the classic ones is, what if I work overtime on Saturdays? For example, the practice isn't normally open on Saturdays, but every now and again we do open on a Saturday when demand is there. And in the contract, you've got it written in there, which is perfectly legal, and I have no problems with it whatsoever. But it has written in there, Saturday, because we pay above award to the degree that we do, when you work additional hours, such as Saturday hours, there's not an additional penalty. The additional penalty is based on the award rate rather than your other rate. And that, as I say, it's totally legal to do that. But sometimes these sort of things are slipped in there and they say, well, just, sign the bottom of this contract. But then the day that comes where they're having to work that Saturday, and then they approach you and they say, oh, you didn't pay me effectively. And you turn around and say, well, you should have read the contract better because it's all legal and in the contract. You didn't realize. It just breaks that trust down. Now I have to look out for my own back because this person doesn't have it. And so really supplying them with every opportunity to read that employment agreement through carefully, get outside advice if they need it, raise any questions that they have with you, and it can be properly managed. That moves towards building a very trusting relationship. Such an important aspect. Now they're turning up, day one, orientation. So what we want to do is make this a very intentional day, not just kind of, well, you're here, who's going to look after Sally? Can you look after Kelly? She's just arrived for the first day. Sally will show you around. And all of a sudden it becomes a bit random and chaotic, depends on how busy the day is and if we're doing the morning huddle and all those sort of things. So we want to make it quite intentional. So definitely set the tone. Ensure the first day is fun and not overwhelming. Don't load them with everything. Don't leave them in the surgery or by themselves with that new practitioner that they've never worked with in the past. Make sure that we are aiming for that employee to feel confident, happy, and optimistic. We want them to wake up tomorrow morning and go, you beauty, I get to do that again. This is all under control. I feel good there. Do the staff room tour and let them know you can make a cup of tea anytime, and this is where you store your bits and pieces. And if you've got food that you want in the fridge, to throw it in the fridge, that's fine. All of those sort of house rules that you have around things, this is the day to do that. Provide a practice tour. Definitely include the history of the practice. It's so helpful to understand the history of that dental practice. Just like when you go out on a date, it's nice to hear about that person's history, where they went to school, their family, their hobbies and things like that. We want to provide the same kind of framework of information for the new employee. It helps them feel more familiar in their surroundings. Team introductions, do those one-on-one with everybody. This is Kelly. She's going to be fulfilling this role. This is Sally. This is her role at the practice. And allow them, so at the very least, when they pass each other in the hall, they know each other already. Provide software access and basic tasks. So if it was a receptionist, for example, don't teach them recalls. Teach them telephone use, scheduling, processing payments, how you do things at your particular practice that they may not have done it in this way at other practices. Lunch break, this is important too. There's a lot of information. We're trying to avoid the chances of overwhelm. We want them to be able to debrief and relax for a bit halfway through the day. So allow the new employee to take lunch on their own if they prefer. If they prefer to be with the team, fabulous. But if they want to wander out, give them that the option. There's a cafe down the road if you needed a bit of a break and things, and make sure that they've got that opportunity to debrief. That's day one. Now, by the end of week one, understand the daily routines is one of the things they need to check off. So how to open and close the practice, how the phone gets answered. So what their basic duties are as a team member, they need to have absorbed and been trained in all of that by the end of week one. There's a whole bunch of other tasks that they'll need repetition and training if they're outside the norm kind of tasks. That's all groovy, but we just need to have this person be able to fulfill that role by the end of week one without someone hovering over them the whole time. For example, with the reception task, they need to know how to do the appointment confirmations, how to labs managed, scheduling, patient follow-ups, the things that happen every single day. They have now, when you think about it, if it was a new receptionist that you were hiring, they've done those tasks Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So by Friday, and the end of day Friday, they should have a grasp of how to do those. And if you've got a systems manual, even better. So they've got something to refer to if they develop questions or have barriers along the way. Any additional tasks such as recall, incomplete treatment follow-ups, and banking, they can be in addition to. So some people learn swiftly. Some people already know a lot of the stuff already. So you take it new team member by new team member. If they say, yeah, bring it on, I need more, great. Then you can start providing them with additional tasks. But that's directed by them. That's directed by them. We want to avoid that overwhelm or any sense that they feel incompetent, because that will then reduce down their level of confidence, and that isn't creating an environment for them to succeed. At the end of week 1 as well, on that Friday, for example, if that's the end of their working week, organise to take them out for lunch. Just the practice manager and them, or the practice manager and the owner and them, or the owner and them. Just go out for lunch, and what that whole purpose is, just to together think about where things are at. Ensure that they feel confident in what they've learned. Ask them that question. Do you feel confident in what you've learned so far? Are there any areas of difficulty? Ask for feedback on improving their integration. What more could we do? What else do you need in order to feel that you are being onboarded effectively? Focus on building trust, safety, and openness. So if they say anything that's critical about your way you've onboarded or the team, say, bring it on. Don't become defensive. We're trying to develop this relationship where they can share feelings with you, their thoughts with you, and there's no cost to that. Definitely avoid doing a performance appraisal at this stage. It's very early on in the relationship. Once they're in the groove of doing their stuff, then the performance appraisals can come into play. But we want to keep this as more of a feedback, a mutual 360-degree feedback session. Keep it relaxed and supportive. So you can say things like, if there's any areas of, of additional training that we can help you with, if you need a bit more confidence in doing things, we can do role plays, all the things. So provide them all the opportunity of support that you can provide. But we want to keep it relaxed and supportive. This is just at the end of the week 1, as we know. If you allocate these times in your schedule as a practice manager or practice owner and stick to them, again, that's helping to set the bar. This is how professional we are here. At the end of month 1, we're adding new responsibilities during that month. So additional tasks, the employee starts to gain more and more confidence. We transition from the feeling of conscious incompetence about what we do, and now we've done it often enough that we're totally unconsciously competent, and that's where a lot of confidence comes from. And if there's any more new demanding tasks that they want, sometimes you do have team members that go, I want to take over the ordering, or I want to take over the marketing or something like that. Then at the end of month 1, you can be doing that as well. So this is where you're checking in with them. Are you set with everything? Is there enough practice and repetition going on for you? Is there anything in addition that you'd like to take on? So we do want to make sure we are having all of those feedback meetings throughout as well. So schedule weekly for the first month, then monthly. Share observations and clarify alignment with the practice expectations at these meetings. These meetings aren't for an hour. These could be only 10 minutes. They're so crucial, though, to make sure we're identifying any barriers to this person being incorporated into the team, and provides you with the opportunity to say, your phone manner, I feel like, could be more like Sally's. So I'm going to get you and Sally together. She can share some of her magic with you. And so this is where it is 360-degree feedback. What can I do for you to help you be more successful? And this is what you can do for me to help the practice be more successful. Always, whenever you are conducting a feedback meeting, always notify the employees in advance. Don't ever just spring it on them. You've had plenty of time to prep and think about it. Give them the same opportunity. Whenever you are providing feedback, definitely use the sandwich technique. It just helps maintain that person's awareness that you are generally happy with their performance, but there's an area of improvement that could be made here. So for example, Sally or Kelly, you are magnificent on the phone. You really are tremendous in your caring attitude towards patients. I love it. I feel like you could be a little bit quicker when we're doing the payments. and processing of the patient at the end. We've got a few people kind of backing up at reception. So I reckon go to Sally, find out how she does it, because she does it really well. She's been here for a long time. But otherwise, we are really happy with the way you're settling in here. I hope you are too. And so that way of providing feedback is supportive and provides them with all the facts, not just the fact that you need to improve, but we're happy, need to improve, but we're really happy with you. Moving into months 2 and 3, that's where we've got that cadence of monthly reviews. And so we've got weekly for the first month, and then at the end of the second month, and then at the end of the third month. This is continuing effective communication. All the same kind of feedback within the last last 2 slides that we're doing at these sort of meetings. And this is very important. This really starts to set the relationship. This is how we're going to work together. And if all of your team members were comfortable with these sort of feedback sessions, can you imagine how much more you'd all improve over the journey? It is very, very powerful. And then at the end of the year, that's when you do a performance review. You can choose to do performance reviews every quarter, every 6 months, every year. It really does depend on the team members that you've got involved. If you've got a bunch of newer team members, I really do encourage you to have more regular team review sessions, because they're still learning the ropes. We're still applying new systems into the practice, all the things. And so that more regular cadence is a very effective thing. However, if you've got people that have been working there for years, they all competently do their jobs, they're all excited, they've got a good team culture going on about themselves, then maybe every year is totally fine. And so it really does depend on your current team and how you move through that. So by the end of the year, when you do go through all of your performance reviews, I really do encourage you to make sure that they are 360 degrees. And that means that it's not just you saying, this is what I deem to be appropriate behavior by you and other areas for you to improve in. You know, these are what you're great at, this is what you could improve in. But then you're swinging that question around and you say, okay, now, Kelly, how are you feeling here at the practice? How well do you feel supported, team training, all the things? What else do you think that we can do that we could improve on as a team, as a practice? How could I manage you and your performance, create a better environment for you to be able to learn and do better? And are there any areas that you just love and think are divine, and that we've got to make sure are really valued and systematized so they always stay within the structure of this practice? That 360-degree feedback does require the leaders of the organization to be very open to it. And the day I became very open to the feedback of my team was the day that I started to grow exponentially, and I have never regretted it. And you get to a space very quickly that you feel that sense of progress as a manager, as a practice owner. And it's so swift when you start receiving that feedback and processing it well and making it then a change element to your management style. You start feeling that progress so strongly, it becomes a self-motivator, and you find yourself asking all the time, what else can I do for you people? What else can I do to become a better leader of this organization and a better manager of you as a person? So I've done pretty well with the timing, I have to say. I wanted to give myself a couple of minutes just to quickly mention dentalbusinessmastery.com.au. We have a lot of resources there, downloads, templates, calculators, a whole bunch of stuff there. So definitely do take the time to jump onto that site and just have a look at what you can get there for free. But in addition to that, I'm just going to quickly show you over 1 minute this brand new product that we have. Back in Julie Parker Practice Success Days, I had the club. That was a membership. We had over 100 training videos that we added to every single month. It all started at the very start of COVID. And so we had this huge library. We've now transformed that under Dental Business Mastery to the Dental Business Mastery Academy. And so becoming a member, like super cheap, only $70 a month. But what you get in addition to all of those training videos around practice management, reception operations, leadership, patient management, your dental team, marketing and patient acquisition, clinical operations, products for service and services for your practice and personal growth. In addition to all of that, we have now got such a library of information recordings in there that this particular platform then trawls through that AI. Thanks so much, AI. I admire Max knowing so much about it. And we've now got Academy Chat here. And Academy Chat is where you can ask a question. For example, how do I reactivate my inactive patients? And it will provide you, based on the knowledge base that it's got within it and ChatGPT AI capabilities, it will provide you 24/7 instant access to tremendous advice and step-by-step processes in getting anything that you need done at your practice. This is such an extraordinary addition to practice managers, receptionists, practice owners. No longer will you have a challenge in front of you that you think, oh my God, I just don't know what to do with this, or I don't have the time to create that job ad. I don't have the time to find that dental assistant job description. Anything that's going on in your practice, non-clinical, doesn't tell you how to do a filling. You don't need to know that. You already know that. You can enter in that information, that question within Academy Chat, and you will get very clear, specific, not just dental specific, but dental business mastery, Julie Parker and Amina Basile specific advice on how to move forward. This is something that we suggest will be open on every practice owner or practice manager especially, but it's so helpful for a receptionist as well. Many of receptionists have these sort of additional responsibilities. You open up your dental software, you open up your emails, and you open up your Academy Chat, and it's there, and you get to engage with it every single day. It will save you time. It will help you appear more professional, and it will provide you, outside of your knowledge base, information, insights, strategies that you can implement straight away, very swiftly into your practice. And so if you are interested in becoming a member of that, it's just Dental Business Mastery Academy.com.au. Thank you, Alexi. If there's any questions, please feel free to sing out.
Thank you, Julie. That was great. I think you've touched on some really, really important points, because we come across a lot of practices where, some things are done real well, but there's really a lot of room for improvement, and it's typically to do with things like customer service and making sure that people are all on the same page, because especially new people are often finding, quite difficult to blend into an organization, especially if there's an existing team culture. Great.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And it's just putting yourself in their position, and what would you need to have a wonderful environment moving forward for yourself? That's what they need.
Excellent, excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Julie. And I guess, we'll do a Q&A at the end. My part of the presentation is called Smart Client Acquisition Without Wasted Ad Spend, because I do get quite a lot of people inquiring about, what can we do right now to, I guess, do better online, and potentially, very tired of spending a lot of dollars, and where can we potentially cut back? So hopefully I'll touch on a few areas. But first of all, I think it's clear to it's important to understand and be clear what we actually do. Our digital marketing agency, Practice Results Marketing, we do a lot of web development, email marketing, automations, a lot of stuff with Google, and a lot of different things like business and sales consulting and marketing coaching as well. Because I find a lot of people are more than capable of executing the actual plans, but oftentimes they're actually stuck at the actual processes themselves. I'm not sure how to address the actual problem. How we started working with dentists was actually quite interesting. In 2016, one of my friends has introduced me to a gentleman by the name of Daryl Holmes. And I later learned that he was the managing director of 1300 Smiles, the biggest dental chain in Australia, which I think it was sold last year or the year before for some ridiculous amount of money. But that's how we basically started. So Daryl and I had a pretty good chat, and he's like, look, we're looking at acquiring a few practices. We want to do some dental roll-ups and stuff. And I knew nothing about this terminology back then. But it was very interesting to work with a chain that had 24 locations at a time. And we worked with them for about a year and a half. They were at about 32 locations. And then we helped them build an in-house marketing department pretty much to take over, because their stuff was just growing astronomically. So that's how we got into this whole dental side of things. All right. So I think what's really important is before you do any marketing exercises, or before you engage in anything, I think it's very important to set goals. Now, while this sounds like common sense, a lot of the time I get people coming to us and say, hey, we just basically want to get more clients, so we want to improve our marketing. Well, that's all fine. But I think if you can, quantify the actual results that you're after, it really helps. So how many new customers are you after? How many new clients is it that you want? What sort of return on investment are you expecting? And a lot of the time it's almost like, well, what's the benchmark? Are we spending too much? Are we spending too little? Are you focusing on revenue? Are you focusing on profit? Well, you obviously got to get the revenue to get the profit, but a lot of the time you could be engaging in tasks that are not really making any dollars. So I think it's very important to understand what your goals are before you do anything when it comes to digital marketing, because everything scales up really fast. And technology really becomes a bit of a hobby sometimes. I do come across a few practice managers and business owners that are just really enjoying the process and sometimes don't realize how much money they're actually wasting and time they're wasting on these particular tasks. So the marketing avenues I wanted to talk about today are local SEO, and this is for basically new contacts if you're after acquiring new customers, and content marketing, because I'm finding that there are way too many websites that are not ranking very well. And if they rank, they only rank for a couple of keywords. And also, I'm finding a huge opportunity with past contacts. And most of you existing businesses are sitting on a gold mine of a database where in reality, you're just engaging with your customers. So a customer comes in, you book them in for an appointment, they get an SMS. 6 to 9 months later, they get another SMS or email reminder saying, "Hey, come back, and we'll want to see you again." But what happens to all those other people that are making inquiries and never become your customers? There's this storm of contacts that just gets abandoned a lot of the time, and you really don't do anything to contact them. And look, I understand everyone gets really busy, and you're trying to focus on running the practice, but opportunity is right there. And if someone's inquired about, dental services to some degree, and you haven't, got them over the line, well, chances are they probably chose somebody else, or they still have a problem that needs to be addressed. So working with a contact usually would have cost you money to acquire them in the first place. And I think, it's almost criminal not to do anything with them. And another little thing I want to talk about at the end is audience filtering. Now, this is a big concept where a lot of people right now, various businesses would approach me and say, "Hey, we have our existing customers clicking on our ads and coming to us and making inquiries. What can we do about that?" So that's one of the problems I'll be addressing later down in my presentation. I always like to share a few tips and tricks along the way. So stay tuned, guys, and hopefully you learned something new today. All right, so let's talk about local SEO. So search engine optimization is obviously big. Some people think it's dead. Other people really invest a lot of dollars in it. Bottom line is people use Google to find you. What I find is a lot of the dental practices, and I'm not sure whether this is a professional standard or no, but a lot of dental practices want to copy one another. They really want to find something that works for somebody else and then want to use that. And that's fine. The only issue is if you're going to have a look at some areas that got 5 or 10 different practices in them, you will find that everyone tries to compete for the same type of keyword. And typically those combinations are like dentist plus location. So for example, dentist Brisbane, if you look at that CBD area, there's probably over 100 different businesses there. Or they're problem based, like toothache. Someone's got a toothache, someone wants to see an emergency dentist, and so on. Or there could be like a service plus a location, so dental implants, germicide to be more specific. And that's fine. Look, you can certainly optimize your website for these things, but if you got a lot of competitors, guess what? They're doing exactly the same thing. So the other issue I'm seeing is there are a lot of very similar websites. Like if you look at a few of your competitors, same stuff, same services, new patient offer, and everything's pretty much one for one. There's nothing unique about it, and I think there's a massive opportunity for you to really understand what those keywords could be like and how to differentiate your website. So if you're looking for a bit of a tip, I would recommend running things like Google Ads and extract the keywords that are actually getting the engagement and conversions and try to optimize your website specifically for those as opposed to what everybody else is aiming for. I often see that there are websites with no offers, or there'll be an offer from 10 years ago or something like that. An offer is really something that a lot of clients are looking for, and especially with all the economic turbulence that's happening right now, people are very mindful of money. And look, while I don't recommend going with this whole price game, I think having an offer of some sort to include extra value definitely attracts the right sort of customers. Now, I do come across a lot of businesses, and I've actually been doing quite a few critiques. You can check them out on our YouTube channel. Businesses would go and set up their social media channels such as Facebook, but they wouldn't post anything there for years, or the only thing that would actually post there would be the ongoing offers. And from a customer perspective, that doesn't look very cool. I mean, you're talking about a social media which is supposed to be fun and engaging and interesting, as opposed to something that's been abandoned. In fact, I have heard a few customers say, "Look, we look at a business from a Facebook perspective and there's nothing being posted for the whole month, we think there's something wrong with their business. Businesses go under all the time. So guys, that's a bit of a red flag. If you don't do anything consistently, try to automate it to a degree. Google My Business is very similar. Now, a lot of people don't know, but within Google My Business, you can actually create posts. And if you synchronize your website, you can actually do posts on your website that will automatically go into Google My Business. Why this is important? Well, because if you're wanting to come up in Google, all the new content you're adding directly to Google basically makes you stand out. And the more complete your profile is, the better it is. Now, finally, like there's a lot of obviously views on the whole reviews for dentists, but if you have a look at our YouTube channel, last year I did a dental practice success series with Carl Schwantes, who is an expert in Google reviews. He's actually engaged a couple of lawyers who've come back to him with proof that dentists can in fact actually ask for reviews, and there is a bit of a process around it. Yes, there's the APRA regulations, but there's actually a bit of a process, which is quite modern, which goes in line with all the legalities. But what I recommend to any of you is to make sure that you guys get reviews with the actual keywords. So if someone's looking for, let's say, an orthodontist, or they've had, wisdom tooth removed, for example, get them to actually include that within their reviews, because that particular keyword sequence is what's actually going to make you stand out locally. So if you do a combination of these things, make your website a little bit richer. If you create some posts within your Google My Business and get reviews with keywords, I guarantee you guys will get much better traction as opposed to everybody else. And this is why sometimes you'll have a business with 30 reviews ranking above business that has 500 reviews. It's purely that relevance and the keyword, exposure. Content marketing. Now, look, I'm touching on these things quite briefly because I think every business is different. And if you guys want to chat, I'm happy to have a conversation afterwards. But content marketing, I think, is one of those huge topics where a lot of people really struggle. And look, you can go all in on the content marketing, creating content and posting on social media and YouTube and trying to engage people. The reality is it takes a lot of time. And most of the time, we want something that really actually gets us the result. The result that we all want is to rank in Google and to make sure that people spend the time on our website. Well, the first thing that I found is Google really rewards things like questions and answers. So you will find that oftentimes the website that come up on top of Google, within their content, there would be a Q&A section. And the reason why that works, I'm not sure if you've seen that, but if you search Google, sometimes Google actually does provide the questions and answers directly within their search results. Now, that only happens when they consider you an authority. And for you to be considered an authority, there's a whole process around it, but it all really starts with content. So what I suggest is if you find any specific repetitive tasks that you're addressing all the time, or there are some common questions, put that into your website. That really, really helps. And I see that a lot of dentists don't go with the Q&A for some reason. Blog posts, well, look, this is something that you could be posting quite easily on the topics that are related to your practice or the social events around the practice, because if you have a strategy of being a local leader or basically supporting a local community, those blog posts can really get quite a lot of traction. And if you're engaging any other organizations around you, they can actually post them on their websites as well. Providing tips, everyone's always looking for tips, whether it's maintenance or care, or there's anything else. Look, let's say if someone has a wisdom tooth removal, what tips can you provide to them in relation to the pain management or the discomfort that they're going to be experiencing? A lot of the time, the information doesn't go there. And look, if you're not sure about the content validity, well, you could potentially use our old friend ChatGPT to rewrite and reference some content as well. That's a bit of a tip there for you as well. Explanations. You guys like to throw a lot of different jargon at clients, and not everyone's the same. Some people don't understand certain terminology, and I think it's important to have a little wiki section within your website with some explanations as well. And look, if you can, the video content works really well because Google rewards anyone with content that is different from everybody else. You can educate your prospects and clients on, the new dentist that's joining the practice, or a receptionist saying hello. Or you could be doing a tour of your practice. And I think the good news is that while a lot of the time people are trying to get this, high quality level, you really can get away with just a mobile phone filming, purely because people actually find that content more real. If something is really smooth, it actually does get lost in the sea of all the YouTube content. So I find that amateur content that is filmed by practice itself works really well. The only thing you really need to worry about is the sound. Make sure it's actually decent. So yeah, like I said, tips for content. Have a look at questions that customers ask you. If there's any processes that you keep repeating over and over, see if you can put that into some sort of a Q&A or a wiki section. If there's a local community around you and you're supporting, a local, I don't know, football team or something like that, or there's events and stuff like that, plug that in. And I think a lot of people really, use Chat GPT in a very simple way where they just go, "Hey, write me this," and they go, "Oh, this is great." But what they're really missing is every time you look at a particular business, especially if there's content behind the scenes, whether it's social media or previously written articles, you've actually got a style of writing, and you actually want to preserve that style of writing. So what I would recommend is actually copying that stuff and asking ChatGPT to learn from your style of writing. Literally, just type that in. And then from there, ask it to write whatever you want in that specific writing style. You'll be surprised how quickly it'll actually start to mimic what you're doing. And really, what you want to do is get ChatGPT then to critique and fine tune that content, because a lot of the time we ask ChatGPT to produce something, but we're not really getting any critique. It looks good. It probably looks better than what we mostly write. But if you say, "Hey, can you critique this content?" and then rewrite it, you will actually get a different variation of the whole thing. And that works beautifully. And finally, my last tip in relation to content is you can quickly analyze competitors using ChatGPT. So purely, copy the content out of the website, put it in, and just say, "Hey, can you analyze this for me? And what are the things that are really standing out?" Like, you can really use AI in the sense of saving you time to make some really, really clever decisions. And if you obviously want a content strategy, I put a small image in there, and hopefully, just to be saving a little bit of time, you guys will check this out in the recording. So some super tips for AI, which I personally wanted to provide, is critique and rewrite, which I just mentioned. Very, very powerful. Make sure that everything you write, you critique and get it to rewrite. Make sure that you use language that most people can understand. Like, obviously, for professional services and stuff, you'd have a different expectation. But because you are dealing with the public, there's a recommendation to write everything as if you're explaining it to a 12-year-old. That seems to be the language that are understood by everyone pretty much globally. So make sure that the language that you end up with on your website is clear and easy. And if you're using things like chatbots, make sure you're not actually getting them to sell anything, but get them to engage, qualify, rather than convert. Now, what this is basically it's your typical cycle where your social media or your Google ads would engage the people, that would get them through to the website, and then from there, when people are making a call, a lot of the time they're there to convert. Now, the issue is the qualifying part is often missing. And what I mean by that is this is why people call and say, "Hey, how much is it for filling?" Well, there's no qualifying process in order to understand, are they having a toothache right now? Have they been to another practice and they're busy? Like, what's the reason why they're trying to get through? And that qualification process can be really well done by a chatbot if it actually goes and takes a person through a series of questions and then sends you that refined information for a better conversation. So I highly recommend using chatbots specifically for that and not the selling. If you guys are just wanting to provide pricing and stuff like that, you're killing your sales process. But look, that's another topic altogether. All right, client reactivation, the next bit. What I find is, there's obviously that big database of customers that are inquiring and not necessarily coming on board. And what you really need is, first of all, to segment your data. Make sure you're not really contacting everybody. You need a good reason to contact, and overall put a bit of an urgency factor around it. I find that SMS right now is probably the best way to do it, because everyone checks their phones and you'll reach 99% of people, and majority will actually follow through on the link if it comes from a legit source. So I find that sending out an SMS is a good way, but sometimes people are busy, which is which is where sending up a follow-up email is really, really good as well. So, for example, somebody's coming, look at you, look your best with a smile that shines. Now through the end of May, get 10% off all teeth whitening services. Schedule today and the link, and give obviously people always an opportunity to opt out of your messages as well. So something as simple like that could be a really big client reactivation. And this is essentially that database of people that you haven't been able to get through. And I recommend database segmentation, because you will have different relationship with people depending on the different milestones. And look, this is a completely different conversation. And I'll find that most of the time, I'd say only 5% of practices are really doing this. In case you're wondering, in terms of tools to use, what I would recommend is looking at a tool called High Level. This is a classic CRM. And look, if you're looking for alternatives, I guess these are the 5 things that you really be looking for. Contact management. Make sure you can actually tag your contact and have a bit of a history with all those contacts, name, emails, phone numbers, and whatnot. Make sure that there's an SMS and email integration. Make sure you're able to tag contacts according to the activity, or something that's specific to the action they've taken to come on board. For example, if they come from Facebook or if they come from a referral and whatnot. Make sure that you're obviously ticking all the data compliance regulations, because that's a big one. This is where a lot of people actually get stuck, because they think if they're going to use a tool of some sort, it doesn't meet the guidelines. And at the end, you need reports. As a busy business owner or a practice manager, you do need something that actually says, hey, you've emailed so many people, you sent so many SMSs, and that's the result you got. We find high level checks all those boxes. You could look at HubSpot. There's a bunch of other systems, but we've been playing with HubSpot for probably the last 6 months, and it's absolutely our weapon of choice right now, because it does so many things so easily. And look, if you're after a 14-day trial, scan this QR code and check it out. And if you're looking at the recording, the link is going to be there all along. But yeah, absolutely, definitely recommend you check these guys out, because this is something that's going to blow you away. So another thing, I guess, about high level that I particularly like is things like reputation management. Most practices, once you guys get busy, you drop the ball on replying to a lot of reviews. And replying to reviews is another opportunity to squeeze in a few keywords. Hey, Alexi, thanks very much for contacting us about your checkup and clean. Great to see you. Glad you're happy with your service and whatnot. And look, once again, have a look at that a recording with Carl Schwantes in relation to reputation management and reviews for dentists, because that's a separate topic altogether. Social media posting and scheduling, it's actually built into high level as well. So if you want to post across Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, you could actually get away with just the one area to do it. And you can use AI to help you write content as well. Really, really good tool to save you a lot of time. Contact management is right there. And what I personally like is cross-platform communication. So this is, I reckon, one of the main reasons why we chose high level. So imagine this. If any of you are doing social media ads, you guys would know that a lot of the time you would get an inquiry. And if you didn't get to the inquiry within the same, 5 minutes or an hour, there's no point talking to them, because they're not replying anymore. So it's almost like those people want something right away. The social media environment is very instant. And if you're there, they really want a response. So what we have found is integrating, Facebook, Instagram, or any of those with SMS actually works really well, because once the person makes the inquiry, we're then able to get back to them via SMS, which really disrupts the cycle. So imagine this, someone makes an inquiry via Facebook, and most people turn off their notifications, but then SMS comes through, which actually disrupts the whole cycle, and you can have a proper conversation. And typically we'd go with an automation like, hi, thanks very much for your inquiry. Unfortunately, we're unable to discuss this right now. When would be a good time for us to actually connect? And if a person doesn't get back to you, we can actually set up a trigger saying, look, would 9 a.m. work with you? And actually then book an appointment automatically, specifically for the receptionist. This whole thing is done through high level. I reckon this is the number one reason, if you're doing any social media marketing, to actually check this out. And then I guess another thing is all the conversation consolidation, because there's nothing worse than missing inquiries from sources that you don't normally check. So let's say if you have a business across LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, but you normally just check the Instagram and Facebook, but you forget about things like Twitter. And then you check it, once every 6 months, and it's like, oh, there's 3 or 4 conversations in there that you've never addressed. Well, the good news is that you can actually consolidate that everything actually comes to high level. So there's one area called conversations, and you can have your live chat in there, your emails, your SMSs, your phone calls, as well as social media, all in the one spot. It is really, really cool, guys. Check it out. Now, audience filtering. I find that audience filtering is something that's so easy, yet no one really bothers with this for some reason. So let me explain. I get quite a few dentists, looking at their reports every month, because we do a lot of Google ads, and they'd be seeing all the conversions coming in. They're like, you know what? We've had a look at the conversions. We've had like 80 conversions this month, and when we had a look at the new patients, we actually only had 40 new patients coming through. What's going on here? We seem like we did a little bit of further digging, and we found there's an overlap of the past customers and now existing customers clicking on the ads and coming through, and you guys are recording it as a conversion. Well, it's a difficult one to resolve, but at the end of the day, if someone's searching, they will come through. So what can be done about that? So we found that if we are able to take the entire database of customers, and obviously if this is tagged properly, and load it into Google or Facebook, we're actually able to tell Google and Facebook not to show ads specifically to those people. It's about 95% accurate, but you could potentially be saving a huge chunk of your ad budget by not serving ads specifically to your customers. Or you could actually be serving ads specifically to your customers with a very different message. Refer a friend and get, 50% off, or whatever that is. And once again, guys, your stuff is highly regulated by APRA. So if you are to come up with a very creative campaign, I suggest that you guys, maybe run it through with someone like ourselves, just to sort of bounce off a few ideas and then run it by the regulations. Well, once again, you've got ChatGPT and a few other AI tools that are well connected to sources like APRA, so you could potentially get a few answers that will save you a little bit of time. You could actually do targeting of a similar audience as well. Now, this is a really big thing where you could actually feed a database to Facebook and say, hey, find me similar customers. So you'll find people with similar incomes, lifestyles, and so on to actually find you new customers. So audience filtering is the key in order to actually get much more intelligent data out of the medias that you guys are using. And I think another issue is a lot of the time we use limited stages of marketing funnel where a lot of the time people wouldn't know about us until they start searching. What I mean by that is, if you look at big companies, they typically spend a lot of money in things like billboard advertising, radio advertising, and in marketing, this is called awareness. They make everyone aware who they are and what they do. And in reality, a lot of the smaller companies mainly do things like Google search, which is the consideration phase, which comes way down the track, which is where if somebody searches, they've got a problem, but they most of the time don't know exactly who's there, so they're taking a guess or basically choose the ad that appeals the most. But if you're able to add an element to it where they actually would recognize your brand, believe me, you guys will actually get more clicks and more recognition that way, because awareness is really something that creates a lot of trust. Now, audience filtering helps here in a sense that you could actually run things through Google Ads and use YouTube as a channel. You could target people specifically by household, let's say families living in a particular areas. You could target specifically, men or women, and then from there, basically serve them ads specific to the problem that they're having. And YouTube is amazing. It actually knows a lot about what you guys are doing, because the entire Google network is well connected. If you guys use Google Maps, they know where you're going. If you guys use Google Hangouts or any of those tools, they're listening to what you're saying. Facebook does the same through WhatsApp and the Messenger. So it's all about connecting the dots and making sure that the audience is qualified well before you show them the ads. And the outcome that we're looking for is to optimize the actual ad budget. So audience filtering, super key. If you guys are not sure where to start, let us know. So in terms of tips, make sure you load those audiences into Google Ads and Facebook. There's a separate section for audiences. Find similar audiences, and then if you are wanting to take this to another level, have a look at your Google Analytics, because it will have all the audiences based on everybody who visits your website as well. So in summary, we spoke about local SEO today. So hopefully you've gathered some tips. And look, if this is going over your head in terms of the technical part, like I said, just reach out and we'll be able to point you in the right direction. Content marketing, lead reactivation, which I find is probably the number one opportunity where you could use contacts of people who've approached you in the past. Audience filtering, and make sure that you guys are able to use things like ChatGPT to automate and systematize your repetitive tasks, because a lot of the time we keep doing the same things over and over, and this is where people get a little bit grumpy. So if you guys are finding all this stuff is quite challenging, let's make a time to chat. I find a lot of people really struggle to implement AI. This is one of those big things, but we ourselves as an agency have saved over $200,000 just last year by implementing AI to follow up on things like proposals, to write content, to help us gather data for our campaigns, and really systemize a lot of repetitive tasks as well. So implementing AI is the key. And there's a lot of crossovers with digital marketing and customer service. So chances are we may be able to help you there. Website critiques. I think a lot of people have done a website either themselves or through an agency, and they've got no idea how good or bad it is, but there are always ways to improve. If you're looking for direction, check out our YouTube channel, and there are some recordings of website critiques that we've done for other practices. Campaign review, especially if you're doing Google Ads or Facebook. Let's have a look at it, guys. There's always ways to improve things, because these things change all the time. And if you keep doing the things same over and over, you are getting very average results. And if you're just doing boosts on Facebook, you guys are wasting dollars. I can guarantee you that. And competitor and niche analysis. If you're new starting out and you're thinking, hey, there's the big guy on the block and they're really doing something that you're not sure how to tackle, well, let's have a chat, because it's all about strategy, guys. It doesn't matter how big or small you are. There's always this David versus Goliath approach that you could actually take, and there are ways around it. So if you want to reach me directly, that's my email address. But yeah, scan that QR code and make a time. More than happy to have a chat. And if you want to do the same for Julie, in case you missed her contact details, happy for you to use the same link as well, and I'll put you in contact there. So questions. I know we've covered a lot of different stuff, but I just wanted to give you guys a chance to ask questions. You can either put your hands up or basically use the chat window to ask a question.
Thanks, Alexi. That was fantastic. I was scribbling down notes left, right, and center, even for us as well. All the stuff you're talking about is so relevant. So, and it is a space where there's a bit of overwhelm, and this is where an expert in the field does such a beautiful job in setting it out so you understand it's a doable thing, but use the experts to actually do it. You can spend your time doing your practice management, doing your dentistry yourself, and get somebody who really knows what they're doing, because we can waste time when we try to tackle everything ourselves, can't we?
Absolutely. And look, I think sometimes it's like you don't know what you don't know, right? So a lot of people really are looking for that starting point. So my goal today was really point you in the right direction, because a lot of the time, if you know what you're, going to be doing, you can find a lot of information around it. I find a lot of people get really stuck with the how question. How do you do this? How do you do that? It's like, well, what are you trying to achieve? And the whole what question really allows you to really understand direction better and really consolidate your time as well. Yeah.
That's for sure.
Well, look, we've got a YouTube channel for practice results marketing. Our previous webinar recordings are there in case you want to check it out. And I'm also chucking a few website critiques and reviews in there too. If you guys are wanting us to have a look at your website and give you a few pointers, let me know. Have a look at the ones that are there just to give you a bit of an idea. If you obviously don't want it to be public either, I'm more than happy to keep it private. But I've made a couple of references to a webinar with Carl Schwantes. It's actually there as well. So check it out and make sure you guys subscribe as well, because we obviously work on putting out new content every now and again. And this is a good way for you to keep on track of things. So guys, thanks very much. These are our details in case you need to get in touch with either myself or Julie. And if you're chasing those CPD points, you either need to be running a diary specifically of the activities that you're engaging in, or you may want a form from us with a letterhead, and I'm more than happy to provide that for you that you've attended this particular event. So thanks very much, guys. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll chat soon.
Thanks again, Alexi. Thanks everyone for turning up. Love it. And for anybody else that didn't turn up, then hopefully the recording does it all perfectly, which it will.
Thanks, Julie.
Thanks. Yeah.